Hello and welcome out to this episode of Outbreak Gamers. I'm your host, David Anthony, gamertag WEBDAVE. What's in the corner now? And I have a very special guest today, Kay Asante.
What's going on, man? How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great, sir. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh
I
no, I
started
appreciate the invite. This is great.
Fantastic. I started this series on video game influencers, and you definitely are one that's well established and up and coming. I think too. That's really going to go places. And so I really appreciate your time today, and we'll make this as painless as possible.
Oh, let's go for it. It's all good. I'm here for it. Let's go.
Well, go welcome very much for you being here. So let's I guess let's get started with something simple. I guess so
Hmm.
like basically how did you kind of get into gaming? What kind of set the seed for you to be in gaming at
Oh,
all?
that is funny. It's a funny thing. I've always I say this and it always sounds weird. I've always spoken the language of tech a bit. Like I consider it a language, and I've always kind of understood it. So even as a little kid, I was the guy. I was the one that was taking things apart and seeing how they work and why they work and all of that. So I've always kind of gravitated towards technology. As a child, I used to make music. I'm a musician, and that
Nice.
lent itself to technology as well because you could use digital sequencers and things like that. So it's always kind of followed me. And I've just been a gamer because obviously gaming is technology. So it's
Mhm.
it's always been something I've been fascinated with since the coin op days. Since you put your quarters up, way back in the early 80s. The
Mhm.
grays mean something. So
More
yes.
grace than you do.
Well, I try to keep mine calm, otherwise it lose its mind. But no, I've always been into technology and that stuff, and obviously that lends its way easily to gaming. So it's always been a part of my life since as far back as I can remember.
That's fantastic. That is awesome. So like what is there any particular I guess I don't know game or event like at the arcade did your like do friends go to the arcade at the mall and oh wow what are these
Sure,
things or what
sure.
what
So,
really got you
so
into it?
what got me into it? So when I
Hmm.
first started, like I said, at that time in the early, I'd say in my, I think I was 10, 11 years
Hmm.
old, something like that. Um, and I lived between, I spent a lot of time between the Europe and America because my dad lives in the United States and my mother lives in the Netherlands. So
Very
I
cool.
lived there for a while, many years, and then I lived here, and I live in the States now. I didn't move to the States officially, like to stay, until 2021. So before then, it was back and forth a lot.
That's
So
cool.
my earliest recollection was walking past a computer lab when I was like 10, 11 years old, and I saw
Hmm.
Wolfenstein 3D running in the computer lab. And I mean, these are, the monster CRTs, there's like 20 of them, and they're all running exactly the same screensaver. And I was
Yeah.
just like mouth agape for like I just stood there for like 20 minutes just looking at it while it plays itself basically.
Hmm.
That was my first recollection of, hey, what is this thing? And I want to get into it. This is pretty awesome. But at that time, during that time, I was more invested in computers and wanted to figure out what they were and how to make them work and all of
Right.
that. So early on, it was more like, what was it? Oh my goodness, Chips Challenge, Windows 3.1,
Wow.
that
Yeah,
way
yeah,
back
yeah.
when. Yeah, I used to play that all the time. And there was this snowboarding one, a skiing where you go. I mean, terrible pixel graphics, obviously, by today's standards, but those are the first time I remember, and this was like on my uncle's computer at the time. He was, he would take me, and I lived in the Netherlands, like I said, and they have these conferences where you
Hmm.
go there and they sell you computer parts and stuff. Like, uh,
Right.
uh, it was almost like the cons of today, but it was just computer parts and techie people who are all in this big room and they're just talking about the latest and greatest. I mean, the 386, 486 days, where
Hmm.
512 megabytes of RAM cost $300, things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what really got me started, and it kind of got me into building PCs really early on because my uncle was a techie guy, and I think my first like console, not that wasn't mine, but like because I live with my brothers. I had two
Hmm.
brothers, and I live in my mother in my mother's house in the Netherlands, and we wanted to play a game for ourselves, and lots of kids had games. Obviously, you go to the coin op, you play
Right.
your Street Fighters and whatnot. But the first game console that we were ever able to like cry on our mother's shoulder to eventually get us was like a PlayStation 1, like the OG PS1.
Great system.
Right. Before then, we would just, it was always various. We've had Nintendos, we've had, and I got there's more of those to come as well. But like as in our system, it was the PS1, the OG PS1, and I remember it fondly because at that time, you know, you as folks do in the beginning, you don't have any money. You know, we lived like as normal folks. We barely had any cash, and at that time, people didn't really think gaming was something worth spending money on. So it was hard enough getting my mother to get me that PlayStation 1, and it came with that demo disc, which we played the hell out of. Battle Arena, Toshinden, and the other things, like just ridiculous amounts, and fighting games. Obviously, Young Boys. That was our game. The stuff we played. What really resonates in my mind is, so as I said, I was a big tech guy, right? And I was always trying to tinker and figure things out. I found a way of, and this was a time where you could go to the video store and either buy your videos and rent videos, bring it home, rent games, bring it home. I burned a Mortal Kombat 1 game on a CD. And obviously it wouldn't work because you put it in and there's this security, this and that. But I found a way around it.
Nice.
The only game I ever found a way around it where literally the PlayStation logo comes out, PlayStation, and then you take one disc out, you put another disc in, and it would play. So I played that game with like me and I'd say 30 of my friends for maybe 4 or 5 years. That's all we did, you know. There was a time where we built a Bible of all the moves on Mortal Kombat, and you know, that's what we did for the longest time. So that's kind of how, like I was saying, how technology lends to me. I like tinkering and figuring out how stuff goes. You'll notice this will become a trend as we talk.
That's awesome.
Yes. So that was my first real memory of, okay, I love this thing. I want to figure out how to make it work. I want to maybe build one myself one day. That kind of thing. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's awesome, and that's a good system to kind of get started with too.
Indeed. So. There were a bunch of systems beforehand, but at that time we just didn't have the funds to get that. The first one that we were ever able to actually get in our hands was PlayStation 1. Yeah.
Well, if that's one you could get in your hands, and like you said, you did that little bit tinkering. That's awesome. That's on. I remember as the system wore on, I was able to a few things like that became available. I think I ended up getting some kind of little some memory card thing where you trick the drive, and like you were talking about, you know, you had to make it think it was closed when it was open, where you could switch out the discs.
And there was so many weird little, you know, and this was the time when the internet wasn't the internet. They hadn't, the economies hadn't like become so dependent on each other. So when you go to Europe, you're in the Netherlands, you're in Germany, you're there, and it's not the same as here at all. So the things that were there were separate to the things that were here. Discs could not be interoperable. You could not play a CD that you bought here because of region locks and things like that. So it was very unique to, you know, get to play things that were not here versus things that were not there, and it was a cool time. I miss those days. Now wherever you go, you're in the same place.
Right. Yeah, it's more open platform and stuff the way it is today. So I guess that's great with you starting off with gaming. So what kind of, I guess, like jobs have you had in your career? I mean, all of us like Paperboy or something like that. But what are some of the things that you've done in your life?
So like I said, and I really like most of my upbringing, if you will, from the moments where I was on my own and doing my own thing, was more often in the Netherlands, because that's where my parents were. Well, my mom was there before I moved to the States. So there I used to make a lot of music. The Netherlands is a very creative place. If you take creative outlets seriously, the government will back you. So like you can be like, I'm an artist, and they will literally pay you to continue to be an artist for the rest of your life, if you will, as long as you release things. Yeah, it's a crazy place. I love that place. That'll always be where I will vacation when I feel like I need to step away. So in the beginning, I used to make a lot of music. I had a bunch of friends who really took it seriously. We had a bunch of studio equipment. We would do all that stuff. I was like I think I was like 16 or something, and I started DJing, and like it got pretty. I got pretty good at it, and I would like take my equipment, and I actually had a pretty good business, made pretty good money for a while. Used to rent. I used to rent existing halls, if you will. Like some
Mhm.
of them are nightclubs and things like that. There were one thing I distinctly remember. This is back when MTV was really big,
Oh, yeah.
and yeah, they used to have really huge places where they used to have dance parties, like, and you
Mhm.
could watch them on TV, and they would have them once every year in this in the city I lived, and otherwise they have this. It's an old airplane hangar, like a full. If you think of movies, an airplane hangar, big round
Yeah,
dome,
big,
and
huge.
they'd have awesome parties there. And after that, they wouldn't use it for a while. So we talked the owner of this place into letting us rent it, because it's like, well, MTV borrows it for one weekend a year, and you guys don't do anything else. Let us do that, right? So you give us a deal on the entry, right? And then you get the drinks. Anybody who comes and drinks, you can monetize your way that way, right? And yeah, we
Awesome.
made like, for little kids, for like
Yeah,
16, 17-year olds, like we made a lot of money doing that, like to the
very
point where it
cool.
became, we had flyers everywhere. It was a popular thing that we kind of fell into, and that's where I started getting my stage presence, if you will. I would,
Right.
microphone, perform, things like that. So that was my early like jobs, if you will, that actually helped me pay
Mhm.
through my way through school a little bit.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
we used to make it really big out there, but eventually I had to leave because, like I said, it's a place where if you want to just be a starving artist, they will let you do that for the rest of your life. And my
Right.
my techie brain just wouldn't allow me to just sit in that comfort for too long. I wanted to do something more, so eventually
Right.
I moved to the States. Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
in the States, I mean, tech support, help desk stuff. Worked at, like, I work right now as a an enterprise architect in pharmaceutical companies and whatnot.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
so tech. It's. I've always spoken the language, so that's basically most of my job. I also, when I first moved here, though, the first job I remember getting in 2001 was working at an electronics boutique selling
Mm,
consoles. I
very
remember
cool.
that. Like, I walked by one of the buildings and thought, I can totally do this. It happened to be right when the OG Xbox was coming out with
Right.
Halo, and
Yeah.
they were like, if you can sell it, the more you sell, you get a bonus. I remember I got my bonus was bigger than the actual owner of the place that year. I sold the hell out of that thing because I
Wow,
loved
that's
games.
awesome. Back
Yeah,
was EB Games, I guess, right? I
EB
guess, yeah.
Games. Yes,
Yeah,
this was
yeah.
in Rhode Island.
Wow, yeah.
Yes.
I get
Yep.
before they merged with GameStop
With
probably, so
GameStop. Yes, yes,
yeah,
yes.
that's
This is
awesome.
when they were
That's
by
awesome.
themselves. Yep.
Yeah, I started off with the Babbages that eventually became,
Which also became, yes, yes. I
GameStop,
remember
yep,
those. Yep, yep.
yep.
I miss those days, man. Like,
Yeah,
now
me
that they
too.
consolidated, they're kind of, it's still cool in there if you have a good local store. But the
Mhm.
days when they had competition, it used to be more interesting walking into places like that, I think.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I can remember when they did the merger, and it was some of the bigger malls in the country
Hmm.
had, like, one floor had a GameStop and the next floor had an EB Games,
Yes,
and they did
yes.
the merger, and they kept them both open because they were both
Hmm.
making shit tons of
A
money,
lot of money. That's right.
and
That's
but
right.
they had
That's
the
right.
exact same price
Yeah.
structure and
Yep.
everything. So,
Hmm.
pretty funny.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, so from there, I guess,
Mhm.
like you said, what you're doing now. I mean, that's, I guess you were able to work from home, pretty much a remote type job.
Yeah, it's interesting. So when I moved to the States, I moved to New England because that's where my dad lives,
Hmm.
and I stayed there for a while. And I'm just like, I'm just tired of the cold, so I moved to Florida eventually. So I live in Florida these days. But
Nice.
yeah, the company I worked for, uh, somewhere along the line, they realized that, hey, if we let them work from home, then we don't have to pay them. We don't have to pay for the lights. We don't have to pay for the internet. They have all that covered. We'll just hand them a laptop and send them on their way. So I've been working from home for almost like 10 years now, 11 years now.
Wow, that's
So when
awesome.
COVID hit, it was just like, well, just another day. Now I just have to deal with my kids knocking on my door as I work. That
Right,
was all it
right.
was.
A
Yeah. So
little,
I've been
little
working from
different
home
for
for a
you.
while. Yeah.
Well, that's nice. That's nice.
It can
COVID
be. There's a
started
pluses and minuses to
right.
it.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that there's days when I'll get up and I'll take a shower after lunch and still
Yeah,
got
yeah.
on my
I can roll out of
PJs
bed and just hit the
and
button at 9, just like that, Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Instead of get up, get a shower, go to work,
Go to work.
shave. Don't
Although
shave too much
sometimes
anymore.
I do miss it though. I do because then
Right.
you disconnect your work when you're driving. I used to have like an hour commute,
Oh,
and
nice.
of course, you and I are kindred spirits. We love podcasts. I would just sit there
Yes.
and listen to all these great podcasts. Now, I have to make an effort to listen to them because I'm always home.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. And so, what
I
can
used
I
to love
do on
that the
my
way it was.
podcast? Right there. There
Yeah.
you go. There you go. Well, I tell you, you definitely have a. We'll segue into the community that you're in
Mm,
now. That's I don't know. I've listened to podcasts. I watch YouTube and stuff. But
mhm,
honestly, when the pandemic hit, I'm at home, got my computer going, and at work, I would usually listen to like some audiobooks and stuff like that
mhm.
when I had to
Yeah,
go
me
into
too.
work.
Listen to a lot of audiobooks. Yeah.
Ready Player One, listened to it like 15 times. Love that
I
book.
love that book. Yes, yes, I do. I do. It's great. I
It
think the
is.
movie was a sad, sad rendition of that great book. Yes,
It
indeed.
was, and I understand they had a lot of
Had
different
to be.
rights and
Yeah,
stuff that they couldn't
yeah.
procure for that.
Mhm.
But boy, the book is still great. It's
It's
still
still
great.
great. It's still
Yep.
fantastic. Indeed, yes. It
Yep.
has some issues here and there, but it's
Right.
by and large, oh, it's still wonderful. It
Yep.
sparks that creativity every time
It
I listen
does.
to it.
It
Yeah.
really does. And so listening to that kind of stuff, and then now I'm home. I was like, started flipping around on YouTube a little bit, and I was like,
Mhm.
what's this? I'm getting ready to get the new Xbox, and let's see what kind of people are talking about the Xbox. What kind of,
Mm,
just beside, I I listened to IGN stuff like that back in the day. I don't listen to those anymore. It's
mm,
nothing against them. It's just so one sided a lot of
mm,
times.
mhm, mhm.
Whether they admit it or not, it is, and it's so I liked listening to other voices. Then I came across Mr. Boomstick. That was
Yeah.
really one of the first ones that I started really getting into,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
and then from there I started listening to dealer games and Xbox Two and other great
Great community
podcasters.
members. Yes. Great,
Exactly,
great members.
exactly.
Yes.
Exactly, and then, like, you were a guest, on,
Mhm,
on Mr. Boomstick show, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's
mhm.
pretty cool."
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
like what you're saying, and then the angles and and then I started watching, when his show was over, and you're like, "Yeah, we have a show on Tuesday nights," or
Mhm.
whatever, so I was like, "Cool, let's go
Yeah.
listen to that," and I did, and it's very, very well done. So I guess, before I talk all about it. So how did you get into the gaming community? What got you to where you were like, I want to do my own
Honestly,
thing, and how did you get started?
so like you, I've been listening to podcasts for a long time. Like you, Boom was one of the first podcasters I subscribed to. Him
Yep,
and Randall Thor 19, and
yep.
not a cheap plug, but this weekend I finally got him on my show, like the
I
last
watched
Saturday.
that show. A
Bucket list
great
stuff for
episode, by
me.
the way.
Bucket list stuff. I was so
Yep,
happy to have him on because for a long time he's, like if you see how many subscribers he has and how many people watch his shows and whatnot. I'm one of the quiet majority who never like never in the chat, never like particularly letting myself be known, but I religiously watch that his shows and listen to his stuff. So to have
yeah.
him on was a great honor for me. Anyway, but so what got me into it was, so I've been listening for a long time, right?
Hmm.
And as I said, I've been a gamer, if you will, for all my life, right? PlayStations, Xboxes, all throughout it. I had 360s, I had this, a bunch of stuff.
Hmm.
Um, Xbox One, I'm one of those rare individuals that understood where Xbox was going with Xbox One.
Right.
They've always had a problem of messaging. But
Mm.
beyond messaging, if you don't pay attention to their fumbling and bumbling over themselves and you see what they're doing, they're actually pointing you to the future.
Right.
They've done that multiple times, right? Microsoft in general does that multiple times, where they will tell you you don't have to hear them, because if you hear them, it just sounds like a dystopian future. But if you just pay attention to what they're doing, you will see where you will be in the next 10 years or 5 years.
Yeah,
Just like
I
Xbox
agreed.
One. People hated on it horribly, but where are we now? We are now in a world where you have like digital assistants everywhere, listening and watching your every move. You
Yep.
have digital everything. They were telling you this was the future, but at the time, people were just like roasting them everywhere. All the talk around it was just so vitriolic that I just got kind of sick and tired of sitting on the sidelines a bit. And I was like,
Hmm.
this is ridiculous. People need to hear this, because what actually tore it for me, what was the last straw, was they were trying to institute digital ownership, where if they were allowed to continue, and I blame them a little bit, because they
Right.
usually when you start and nobody likes what you have to say, you have to convince people instead of going back on it, right?
Right.
Had they continued it, we'd be living in a world now where we could trade digital games. That's where they
Yeah.
were going. We could trade, like, I have like over 1,000 digital games between
Hmm.
my PC and my PlayStation and my Xbox. Thousands. Like Humble Bundle comes out, they have a good cause. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy that. And there's like a
Hmm.
hundred some odd games in there, and I'll never get to play them all. Steam
Right.
sales, I have ridiculous amounts. I would love to trade that to people. Hey, have you tried this? And give them the digital license. That's the future Microsoft was painting. But of course, people just was, completely against that, to the point where they took all that back, and now we don't have that future, right? Yeah,
Right.
digital ownership can't be traded. So
Well,
when
not
that
yet.
stuff started, not yet. Yeah, not yet. All the stuff they said they were going to do, they pulled back. They slowly started instituting when people were ready. So hopefully digital rights ownership becomes a thing in the future. But during that initial time when they were really getting roasted, that's when I was like, no, come on, we have to get on here and make my voice heard as well. So I started communicating with Boom a little bit,
Hmm.
and shout out to him. He is such an open and available person. Thousands of subscribers now at 10K. Good on
Hmm.
him.
Yes.
Thousands of subscribers, so many voices, so many people listening to his voice, and a nobody sends him a message and says, "Hey, I would really love to be on your show one day. I would really love to, lend my voice to this discourse." And he was like, "Oh yeah, brother, let's work it out. Work out a time frame, get you on the show." And I came on there, like, as you recall, I came on there and
Hmm.
we were chatting and we were talking about it. And he was impressed, I guess. So right after the show,
Yes.
he's like, "Bro, would you like to be a panel member?" I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, this is amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
And it
Well.
just kind of snowballed from there. It was I
Yeah.
was sick and tired of, and I even tried the essay thing that the dealer does and Rand does. I
Hmm.
actually, if you really hunt it down, it goes by another alias, so I won't tell you what it is. But if you hunt it down
Okay.
on YouTube, there is one from me where I did that thing, right? And it was
Yeah.
just like 12 minutes of talking takes almost 8 to 9 hours to edit, to really get it right, and then there's the type of videos you want to put in to keep it interesting. it,
Right.
it was I have 2 kids, I have a wife, I have a full-time job. I just couldn't keep it up. So I
Right.
was just
Yeah.
like, maybe I'll just do this podcasting thing. And that's basically where it has led me. It's been a whirlwind a bit, but I've really
Right.
enjoyed it, to the point where it went from a light little hobby to now me going, I think I want to do this as much as I possibly can in my free time. So that's how
Yeah.
I really got into it. Boom. Shout out to him. He
Definitely.
as a lot of folks have said, as I've heard, he paved the way for a lot of us to get in the business and
Yep.
start really like getting a voice. And so I will always hold him in the highest of regard.
Yeah. Well, he's not the only one that was impressed with your performance, by the way. I just have to say that you definitely you hold your own, and you have some.
against the hardships.
Well, I mean, there's sometimes there's people that beat
Uh-huh.
back, but I mean, you've always um, you know, shot straight forward and what you think, and
Yeah.
it makes it a very enjoyable commentary. Um, I like
I
that
appreciate that.
enjoy
Yeah, that's
watching your
great.
show. Well, you're welcome. Well, so you did Boom Show, which you're
Hmm.
still doing.
Hmm. Hmm.
See you Monday,
Thank you. Yes, we
and
will be there.
I
I'm
will.
happy.
I
Yeah, it's
will
awesome.
for
Awesome.
once. Yeah. He he was told me to reach out to to other people in the community, because I told
Hmm.
him I wanted to do this series,
Yeah.
and you were on the list that he recommended. So I'm really appreciative that you got back to me and
Oh,
that you're doing
that's
this show.
great. No,
So
of course, of course, of course. Yeah, and he paves the way. He opens doors. He's the
Hmm.
reason why I met my podcast partner Everborn. He and I,
Yeah.
like, we hit it off right away. We just talk endless hours about all the stuff that you basically, it's like turning on a camera and going. That's what we're doing now. We try to clean it up. But by and large, we were just on the phone all the time, just like, yo, but what about this? But what about that? We would always go back and forth, and we connect in that way.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, Boom is great, man. He really like helped me, put me on the path that I'm on with all this podcasting stuff.
All right. So with that said,
Hmm.
so I guess, yeah, obviously you're on the phone with Everborn a lot.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I guess, what was that, the first show on your own that you guys did, or was it
Yeah,
a circle
yeah.
podcast, or how did that
So
what all
so
started?
Yeah, so he and I were kind of like, we connected on Boom Show, and we
Hmm.
would be in the Twitter DMs, just back and forth chatting, say, hey, we should like start something, talk, and we would talk on the phone from time to time. And it was like, maybe we should start something. And I said, I kind of want to do my own podcast, because I feel like, not that I don't like the way Boom's show is structured. I like the
Right.
way Boom Show is structured, and I'm proud to be a member, a panelist
Yes.
on his show. But, like, much like the Iron Lords, I'm sure you know the Iron
Oh
Lords.
yes.
They're great podcasters. I consider them the Mount Everest of podcasts.
Mhm.
Just a bunch of guys having a great chat. Slandering each other, poking each other with sticks. Ooh, excuse me,
That's all
my
right.
phone is beeping. I apologize. You
That's all
know,
right.
stabbing each other with sticks a little bit, having a good
Yeah.
time, ribbing, and all of that. I enjoyed that, but in a more structured fashion. So, unlike where, because Boom has so many guests sometimes, or the
Hmm.
panel members, so he has to keep it quite structured, which is great for that show. I
Right.
wanted it just to be like a barbershop vibe, if you will. You
Right.
you come to the barbershop and you just shoot the shit with your buddies.
That's a good
And
way of
I
putting
thought,
it. I like that.
yeah, and I wanted the topics to be a bit more evergreen. Maybe we focus more on the not necessarily the news of the day, because the news of the day is always happening, but
Hmm.
the underbelly about it. The console war, for instance. Why is
Hmm.
that still a thing? Maybe we'll add in news stories of the day to kind of inform that. But by
Hmm.
and large, the issue is tribalism. Why is there tribalism in gaming? Things like that. So those
Yeah.
are the kind of things I wanted to tackle, and make it like a whole show just dedicated on a particular topic. I love VR. Let's make a topic, because I speak to a bunch of folks in the community, and they go, well, it's difficult. You gotta, the barrier of entry. So then I want to do a show about VR 101. Why and how is it so easy to just get in? Trust me, you'll be fine. Here are some
Yeah.
examples. People are very difficult with PC. Oh, the meme about all the drivers and all of this, and it can be expensive. So then I want to do a show about, I have like hundreds of games that I've paid $0 for, because it's on PC, and they give
Yeah.
it to you freely between the Epic Game Store and the Amazon and this and that. They're
Right.
literally trying to give you games, and most people don't know stuff like that. So I
Yeah.
figured that my small air could lend voice to those avenues that people like me may be interested in, but may not know that it exists. So
Right.
me and Everborn kind of started that part, and he is big in as I'm sure you know, he's a storyteller. He
Right.
has the Everborn saga, hence the name. So he's
So
very big into
what's the
movie.
name of that show that you guys
Uh,
do together?
yeah, it's called On the Reel. It's
On
actually
the
it
Reel.
was on
Okay.
hiatus for a while. It will be back actually very soon. I think he wants to
Okay.
coincide it with the launching of Batman.
The Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, he wants to coincide, because he's very big into movies and TV, as am I. But
Yeah.
that's
Me too.
really his bread and
Me
butter.
too. As you
Yeah,
could
as am
tell.
I. Yeah, and yes, and I've seen every movie behind you right there, and I love almost all. I actually love all of them. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got so
So
many more posters that you can't even see. I'm just telling you.
yeah, I try. I stopped my poster game a while ago, because otherwise my walls would be absolutely covered.
Right. Right. I switch
You
them
know.
out sometimes too when I,
Yeah.
I feel that I need to do this. My daughter, open disclosure, works for a movie theater company.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping
Yeah.
that the Batman makes it to the wall. That's all I'm saying. I love
Awesome.
you, honey.
Awesome. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly.
that's how we got into it. We agreed to both do the gaming podcast, and we
Hmm.
agreed to do On the Reel. And On the Reel, I should actually note, he was doing On the Reel by himself with his brother and other friends a while ago, and for reasons of scheduling or whatever, they had to shut the show down. So
Right.
when I came along and I said, hey, we should do both of those shows, he revived On the Reel with myself and his brother,
That's
who's also
awesome.
on the show, and me, the Gaming Circle podcast. We just wanted to do something, and the name comes from a place in the Netherlands where I used to hang out with my boys. It's a circle, and
Uh-huh.
we would drink and do dumb young kid stuff, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
just bunch of boys just having fun. So I figured, hey, virtual circle, y'all come, we have a good time, and
I love
it's
it.
actually been pretty good so far. It's been great. It's been getting better and better all the time. So
Like I said, I've caught several episodes and really enjoy that. And
mm.
like I said, you had a big guest on this last week, and
Yeah, man, it was
man,
awesome. I'm so excited that he was able to do that for us. And I thought I'd get him for like 30 minutes. He stayed for the duration. Afterwards, we chatted some more. Great
nice.
guy. I'm
He's
hoping
super
we can get
super
him
nice
on the
guy.
reel as well. Yeah, super
Yeah,
super
yeah,
nice guy. Great
yeah.
guy. Yeah.
I've got a message into him. We'll see if he replies.
Yeah. I'm sure he will. He's very approachable. He's
And
just
he's
kind of
also a
quiet
busy
on
man
Twitter.
too. Yeah,
He's just
yeah.
very quiet on Twitter because Twitter can be a cesspool a little bit.
It
So
can be. It can
yeah.
be. They've gone after him before too, and it's
Hmm.
totally unfair because he's,
Hmm.
like you said, pretty nice guy. So,
He
but
is he is
so
crazy level headed for some reason. Like even when he should
right.
be riled up, he's just like, no big deal. I'm like, man, I
Yeah.
wish I had some of your patience. Some people get at him, for some reason.
Right. Right. But he's the show he does is pretty amazing.
Hmm.
So back to the circle.
Hmm.
Um, so it's the Gaming Circle
Yeah, the
podcast.
Gaming Circle podcast. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I guess when is it on, and what all what's it focused on, or is it just open to any system format, whatever?
So it's usually Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The focus is usually our love. So uh, early on, we were always discussing what the focus should be, and people go, "Oh, I'm an Xbox guy. Oh, I'm a PC guy. Oh,
Right.
I'm a PlayStation guy. I'm a gamer. Like I play wherever the
Amen.
games live. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
and if a new thing comes out that's cool, I will be there. Like I love gaming. So we kind of change the focus depending on what's inspiring us, right? And
Right.
we've actually been working, and I'll tell you this, it's still in the works. We've been working on doing an episode all in VR. We've like
Wow.
trying to work the technology on that. It's a little bit complicated, but we literally want to spend the whole thing in like avatars in VR in a VR space and show it off in a way that's watchable. It's
Okay.
difficult, but we're figuring it out because we
So it'll
want to
be
be able to.
watchable to just a regular YouTuber that
Yeah,
don't
like
have the
on a
equipment,
screen like
but
your
we'll be able to
podcast
see
right
you
now.
guys in
They
VR.
are walking around like little goofballs,
That's
like talking. That's
awesome.
what we want to do. That's what we want to
Nice,
do.
nice. I like it.
The technology's there. It's just we want to make it so that it doesn't, like, the camera doesn't bob, because by and large VR is very from the headset perspective,
Right.
and when you're doing it, it's not a big deal. But when others are doing it, when you watch it being done, the head shaking kind of like shakes the whole screen, and we don't want that.
Right.
We want a still camera while all of us are kind of in that world. It's
Yeah.
not difficult. It's just unknown. It's just
Right.
people aren't used to that stuff. And with Oculus Quest being big now and people are getting into it now, we thought this is the time to do those kind of interesting things. So that will be one aspect of it. The
Nice.
Steam Deck is coming out. I am like chomping at the bit to get mine. I pre-ordered that
Same.
thing. I'll be Mr. This is how you dual boot with Windows. This is how you emulate the Switch so you can finally get 4K on Switch games.
I'll be
I'm
watching
just
your show for sure.
this is the stuff we'll be doing. It'll be fun. So
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
whatever inspires us to put something together. That's usually how the show goes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So yeah, and I do like that it's it varies around, and maybe topical at times, and then maybe classic at
Exactly.
some other times. That's
Yeah,
nice. It's very
exactly like
nice.
that. Yep.
I know that when I get my Steam Deck, I'll be,
Mm.
okay, Asante, how do I load all these
Hey, we'll
ROMs
figure it
on and
out.
play all
We'll
these
figure it out.
emulations?
Yeah. And for those out there who go, ooh, he's living that what they call it, the Jack Sparrow life. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. Emulation is legal. It's how
Yep.
you acquire it that's the question. So all you got to do is basically buy your games on your Switch, put it on your SD card, and plug that SD card into any other device, and you're off to the
There you go.
races. That's what
Yep.
we do. That's how I was able to play Breath of the Wild in like glorious 4K 60. Take it out, plug
Nice.
it into a computer, emulate it on the PC. You have far more resources. Stuff like that.
Oh yeah, it is. It's a beautiful game. Hard to wait for
Yeah,
2 to come out.
yeah, me too,
So
me too. It's an interesting time. I'm looking forward to when they choose to drop that.
so is that the only 2 shows? Well, obviously you guest on Booms, but I mean, is that
Mhm.
the only is that all the shows that
For
you do?
now, for
Right.
now, yeah, it's the gaming circle
That's
which I
odd.
do on Saturdays. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
because full-time job, kids, wife, the whole
Yep.
deal. So I'm trying to add more to my YouTube channel, but for now, that's what I've been doing. And then every once in a while, recently, what do you call it? God of War on PC
Mhm.
came out, and I play in ultra wide. I have a 21:9 screen. It's not that
Awesome.
great. There are people who have like 31:9 monster things that wrap around
It
their heads.
still sounds
This
pretty
is
big.
this it's like two 24-inch monitors side by side together.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
it's
that's
34-inch
crazy.
wide. So and the games that support it give you like such a very interesting aspect ratio and all of that. So as games come out, I'll like record, play a little bit, record. So I've been recording God of War footage and putting it on my YouTube channel for folks to see. Like, because that game on the PS4 like had no reason to be as good looking as it is, and it's glorious on the
Right.
PS4 because the PS4 processors and stuff are not as
Yeah.
powerful as some phones. Like, it is weak,
Yeah.
and Xbox as well. To be fair, they're both
Mhm.
had very weak processors. So the fact that these developers could make this thing shine so brightly on such weak hardware is just a testament in and of itself. So when this thing came out on PC, I wanted to double dip as I do, and I wanted to give it a shot. Same thing with Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Amazing looking. It sets the standard of like how games should look. So
Right.
when they come out, I'll play a little bit and put it on the YouTube channel just to show folks maybe you don't have that hardware and this is what it looks like. Stuff like that, just to kind
Yeah.
of keep things interesting.
I like Cyberpunk. I think that game looks absolutely beautiful. I know it
Bro,
has
it is one
problems,
of
but
my favorite
mm.
games. It is
Oh,
one.
cool.
I drive around that world just to drive around. I'm halfway through the
Yeah.
story. I haven't finished it, and I don't want to. I just want to drive around and see all the chrome and the ray tracing and all that stuff. It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
insane. I get it. People like love to dump on that game. I get that, and of
Yeah.
course they deserve some of that righteous smoke because they kept talking highly about the last gen consoles and how it would work, and it totally didn't. So yeah,
Right.
I get folks get upset by the fact that they bought into that dream and it really wasn't theirs, which is true.
Yeah.
It's true. But right now, I imagine there will come a world just like CD Projekt Red has done. People forget how The Witcher 2 and The Witcher 1 released. They were broken
Right.
pieces but eventually they became well-tuned, well-oiled machines. And I'm pretty confident that eventually CD Projekt Red will get Cyberpunk there as well. You
Yeah.
know,
I agree with you on that
yeah.
100%. And it's like you said, if I mean, yes, it's great that a lot of things are backwards compatible and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But something like that I think it should have been focused on next gen only, and it
Yeah.
would have done so much
Yep.
better out of the gate.
Yep, they
You
should have
know.
set the standard early so they had no issues moving forward. Because if you have the right hardware to run it on, you'd be fine. You'd be
Yeah.
fine. Even now, there's still some bugs here and there when you're running on the Xbox and the PlayStation,
Right.
but it by and large, you can play that game now on those new consoles and have a decent experience. You'll encounter a bug here or there, but it won't be
Right.
game breaking. You're good, right? It's
Right.
just that they hitched their wagon to the old school Jaguar Core PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, and that was a bridge too far. It was just too much.
Yeah.
You can't dumb it down enough, specifically from the complex CPU that you need. You can't dumb it down enough to make that thing work right, and they're coming to that realization now. I doubt they can separate at this point. Now they're just going to have to do that legwork to make it there, but
Right. Right.
yeah.
Or get it to where the older generation is just that's as far as it goes. Let's focus on the upgrade stuff.
Which frankly they should have done in the first place. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amen. I agree with you that 100%. So with the with that,
Mhm.
I guess let's kind of dig into a little bit of like the state of gaming
Mm.
today. What are your thoughts on you know acquisition season, or all that kind of stuff.
uh,
Just get something dig
no,
into
yeah,
details. But I
yeah.
mean, as far as the overall like
Hmm.
gaming today compared
Yeah.
to what
Compared
it
to back
started out
back
to
in
be,
those days. Yeah,
yeah,
I think folks are kind of stuck in their ways based on how they
yes,
remember it to be, you
hmm
know, and it's not that serious. It's more fun and more. It's better than it's ever been.
hmm
Uh, back in those Nintendo don't what Genesis does days,
yep,
they literally were. They spoke two different languages. They were
hmm
different systems that did different things, like very much so, right?
yeah,
They weren't both PCs under the cover with shiny covers that made you think like otherwise, which is what they are today, right?
right,
In those days, there was reason for exclusivity and differences because they spoke two different languages, like technical languages, right?
hmm
So you couldn't interoperate, right? And even many developers who tried, there are examples of the same game on two systems and they play differently and they look differently because
yeah,
they spoke different languages. But today, it's buying a console, specifically consoles, it's like buying a TV. You don't expect a movie that only plays on TV A and not on TV B. Like, that's
hmm
ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right,
uh, when folks get all in their console war, this and that, it's like when they used to do different things by necessity, that was, I can understand that. But today, that's like having a fight between a Samsung TV and a LG TV. They're both TVs that look great. Like,
yep,
you know, they may do different things. You want this, it gives you that. You want something else, it gives you that. But I don't see the necessity for all the vitriol, as it were, because
right,
I always say this on my show and people laugh at me. Everyone gives me crap for it. You know, I feel that console players, and I say with all respect, they
right,
are the Honda Civics of the world. They are the Accord. They are the Fords of the world, right?
yeah,
And the Teslas are the PC people. Every once in a while, when people buy a bunch of Teslas and eventually heated seats becomes a commonplace, they'll bring that down to you console people. And then you
yep,
go, we have the best thing in the world. I'm just like, no, you don't. The console is literally the price. The whole console is the price of a video card.
yeah,
Whereas there are people, and I don't have the greatest video card in the world. There's a dude who has a 3090 that costs $2,500 today, just the video card, nothing
wow,
else,
yeah,
and it's all meant for games. So you must understand that you can't keep fighting that we have the greatest fight because someone's always better than yours, right?
right,
But that's not where the mental should be. It should be, I want convenience. I want to pop in my disc and play, or I don't even have to have a disc. I can just hit download and it gets the job done, right? If
yeah,
I want the latest and greatest experience, the best experience ever, I may get a PC, or a convenient experience, I may get, a Switch or something, right? Same thing like
right,
TV, right? I was talking to people. I love The Matrix. If I want to watch it in the best experience ever, I will get an OLED TV. I'll whip out the Blu-ray and I'll put it there. Or sometimes I just want to watch it and I'll put it on Netflix. That 4K is not the same.
right,
Doesn't mean it's worse,
right,
right? Sometimes you watch it on YouTube or whatever, like you watch a grainy version. Doesn't
yeah,
make it bad. It's just where you want it to be, where you happen to want to watch it. One doesn't make the other worse. It's just
hmm
different experiences.
yeah, yeah,
So
definitely,
when it comes to that stuff, I always try to. I feel like the companies have a vested interest in making you fight so you can fight for them. But
right,
if you educate yourself and understand that these are all just decisions being made rather than capabilities, then
right,
you rise above it a little bit and you can kind of see that they're kind of manipulating people.
yeah,
So that's usually where I'm at with that. And as far as consolidation and acquisitions and stuff like that, people forget Activision Blizzard itself is like 18 different companies that gobbled each other up to become
yep,
Activision Blizzard, you know. And when that happened, new companies sprang up in its wake. You
yeah.
know, it's a very cyclical kind of thing.
Sorry,
Your turn.
I had an alarm set.
No worries, no worries. It's a cyclical kind of thing where at the end of the day, companies stay around, they get fat, with their proceeds, they start churning out the same things over and over again because they figure that's what you want, and then they got to get eaten so that new ones can come into the place. We used to live in a world where THQ was monstrous. Where are
Right.
they now? They're gone, and now they're being brought back under the Nordic banner.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's very strange.
yeah, but I think those who are fighting that fight now, who are worried now, don't remember those days, because that stuff used to
Right.
happen back then too,
It
right?
did.
And
Yep.
that's what allowed the Naughty Dogs of the world to rise. That's what allowed the Devolver Digital to now be the coolest indie publisher out there, right? And
Yeah.
eventually they may transition to the AAA space once your Activision Blizzards and your Bungies and all those others become part of first party, right?
Right. Hmm.
So I think it's exciting. I think it's opening the door for a lot more new voices to enter, and especially
Hmm.
now that you have like developer tools that are very democratized. Anybody can pick up Unreal and just start tinkering. You know,
Amazing, isn't it?
it's a chance for people to rise, and
Hmm.
as long as all these big monsters aren't in the way, your voice can get heard easier because now there's room for you. But
Yeah.
people don't see it that way. They think, oh, it's all going downhill. They're all gonna start charging people an arm and a leg. People forget that Zelda Gold disc, the gold cartridge, used to cost $100 back in the 80s.
It was a
You
hefty
know,
price. Yep.
it was, so it's just a cyclical thing, and people they tend to be in their feels about it a little bit, but it'll all be fine at the end of the day. I don't think this is a sign of the gaming apocalypse by any
Right,
means.
right. I agree with you 100% on that.
Mm.
I don't think there's anything that's making this finality or anything like that.
Yeah.
I think what's happening is actually good for us, so that we don't have everything fall between the cracks to where, you know,
Hmm.
Blizzard Activision, they were in a little bit of trouble of their own making.
Yep.
But, so now there's, new hope and new life, and apparently there's a lot more excitement that people know that they're being bought by Microsoft,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
they didn't have, they were doom and gloom and
Exactly.
jumping off the
Exactly.
ship, and now they're like, oh, well, they're talking like we might be able to bring this back and do this,
Exactly.
and
I mean,
it's
how
awesome
many great
creativity.
franchises? How many great
Yes,
franchises were basically left in the attic of Activision until this
yeah,
whole thing happened? People are talking about Hexen. Like, is there
yeah,
a world where Activision was going to bring back Hexen? Hell no.
nope,
But now, that's a very, very real possibility, and
which is
as well
great.
as many others, which is awesome, absolutely
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
They have Pitfall, for God's sake. You will
Pitfall
there's
Harry,
a universe. There's a universe where you may see an Uncharted like game called Pitfall. Imagine
that'd
that.
be
That's
great.
amazing.
Yeah, I'm with
So
you, man. That'd be
people
awesome.
need to calm down and look out for the potentials rather than
Yeah,
be so gloom and doom about
yeah. Now, there is one company I'm hoping that does get picked up by
it.
somebody, and that's Konami. That
Okay.
because they don't really seem to be doing. I mean, they're not really doing anything with their franchise other than the
Mm-hmm.
pachinko machines and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yep.
great for them.
Yep.
But I mean, there's so much potential in their library
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that if they would at least maybe they can still maintain the rights for those for their pachinko machines or whatever they're
Mm-hmm.
called, pachinko, however you pronounce it. But but maybe let the gaming rights be leased or
See,
go to
the
somebody
thing
else to
about
use.
them
Mm,
it's very interesting. I think
yeah,
recently the Xbox Two talked about that as well. I thought I heard them
yeah,
talking about that a little bit, and I found their take on it quite interesting, and I agree. The thing about them is they've kind of left gaming behind for a bit, right?
yeah.
Focusing their characters, like you said, on pachinko machines and things like that.
Hmm.
But if that was really true, they would have sold their IPs off to various folks that want it for a while now. They've been sitting
Right.
there dormant for quite so many years, right? But they
Yeah.
still hold on to them.
Yep.
So if you wanted to acquire Konami, you probably wouldn't want to because they have diversified their business so much, like especially in the regions where they're big.
Right.
They golf courses and fitness equipment and all this other stuff,
Yep.
right? So the only thing that of gaming you would want are their IPs, and
Right.
they have not been willing to sell them. So
Right.
it makes you question what their motive is, right?
Right.
There's something going on there that has not been made clear. So
Right.
I don't
Agreed.
foresee like a world where PlayStation buys them or Microsoft wants to buy them, but
Right.
possibly maybe make a bid or two for some key IPs. That might
Yep.
that might be interesting.
Or
Yeah,
maybe work out some kind of lease or using agreement to where they can,
yeah,
we'll be able to use these for such and such games that'll be exclusive to our maybe
yeah.
format or whatever, kind of thing. I mean, it seems like a waste for them to just sit there and collect dust
Hmm.
because
Exactly.
I love
Completely agree.
another Metal Gear,
Yeah.
Silent Hill. Oh, this would be
Hmm.
great.
Yeah, I do hear a lot of rumor and speculation that
Yeah,
Silent Hill's in the works. We'll wait and see. There's been multiple iterations, multiple studios are supposedly working on Silent Hill.
yeah,
And if that is the case, that means Konami is somewhere in the back end collecting some checks, which is
right,
interesting.
right, right. Which would be
We'll see if
great.
that comes to fruition, which would be great. Yeah,
Yeah,
because truth be told, those are all money making entities, right? As long as they see their return on investment is big, they'll go, hey, let's do that again. So
right. Exactly.
yeah,
Totally agreed. That's awesome. Asante, man, I really appreciate you coming on today. This has been great
this is a great
having you
conversation.
today.
I appreciate you inviting me. This is good.
Well, I want to just kind of, I guess, as we start to wrap things up,
Mhm.
just kind of a couple of questions I like to throw out
Yeah,
at people that are just like, considering we're kind of, in the gaming circle, as it were.
of course. Yes,
Like
yes,
I threw
yes,
that in. Didn't you?
yes.
So what is your, I guess, favorite game or franchise of all time? In
Ooh,
either way, whether it be a mascot or whether it be, you
sure.
know,
Okay, so I'll cheat and give you two.
no, go right ahead.
Because one is to me objectively the greatest game ever made, and
Hmm.
the other is my favorite game of all time. The greatest game ever made, and anyone can fight me on this because it's objectively the greatest game ever made.
Okay,
Tetris.
it's a
Ever made.
fantastic game.
Ever made by anyone anywhere, and you know it because they keep making more.
Yep.
It is the greatest thing ever made. You can play that game on a desert island, you'll never be bored for the rest of your life. That game is amazing.
Yeah,
My
I have a
favorite
I have a
franchise of
copy
all
of
time.
10 Gen, by the way.
Oh wow, that's
Yes,
amazing. That
and
is amazing.
I
See,
love that
classic.
version. Yeah, I am.
Classic. Yes, yes. My favorite game franchise of all time, just by virtue of the hours I've put into it and
Yeah.
how it got me into gaming,
Mhm.
has to be Halo.
Oh, yeah.
It has to be Halo. And I'm not even a multiplayer guy. I'm mostly a
Wow.
campaign guy.
Right,
I've
right. Still
played those
great.
campaigns for so many hours. And I think your other question will lend to a bit down the same path. But yeah,
Right,
Halo has to be my franchise of all just by sheer hours played.
right, right. I agree with you on that, true, because I played so much, and then, at a time when once it really started picking up, my friends started getting it too,
Mhm.
you know, we're off for the weekend or we got 2 days off or whatever. Let's
Let's
go to
jump on
Dave's
a Halo.
house.
That's
We
right.
2 or 3 systems, link
Yes,
them all
yes.
together.
Even today, you can do that. You
Yeah,
can link
yeah.
together the OG fat black Xbox with a 360,
Nice.
right?
Mhm.
With a Xbox Series S and X, all of them, all the gens,
Yeah,
and still play Halo. It still works today.
that's fantastic.
Amazing.
I didn't
Yeah,
know that. That's very
it's
cool.
amazing. You can totally do that today. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So our my last, I guess, question, gaming
Hmm.
wise,
Hmm.
will be, I guess, game that you're looking forward to the most, a future game that's not out yet, that's coming, that you're looking forward to the most. I
So
know that's a
see,
tough one.
that's a tough one. That is definitely a tough one. I have a couple of them, but
That's fine.
I would say because I think more folks need to possibly pay attention to this.
Hmm.
And it'll be day one on Game Pass when it comes. So that's
Nice.
exciting as well.
Hmm.
It's Atomic Heart. I don't
Mm.
know if you've seen that
I have
before.
seen the trailers for it. Yeah.
It is the strangest. Like I make jokes that this has to be like Kojima's like Russian cousin that made this because it is weird in all the best places, and it's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
Russian, very very Russian. Like it's got the Russian synth pop music. It's got like almost zombie esque creatures who have like plants growing out of their heads. Graphically, it's insane. Like
Hmm.
really showing you what future graphic output can be. It's very 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 interesting. Not to be outdone.
Hmm.
What's the other one? Oh come on now, it's at the tip of my tongue. Based on the Chinese myth, Black Myth Wukong.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Another one you need to be careful. Those two that pushing and I'm a tech guy, pushing technical
Sure. Sure.
boundaries
Hmm.
to a place where you're just like unbelievable. They're doing things that like that's actual next gen. People have been talking next gen left and right. We haven't really
Right.
seen next gen like that. This is
Right.
next gen. So
Oh,
those
I'm
are the
looking
ones that
forward to
I
those
think
now.
people need to keep them on their radar. Those are
Yeah.
very, very interesting games. Yeah.
And what was the name of that second one again?
Black Myth Wukong.
Black Myth Wukong.
Yeah,
Okay.
made by Chinese Kitchen, I think the name of the studio is. It's a
I'm gonna look
Chinese
that up.
studio.
I'm gonna
It
check that out. I'm
is
trying to stick in the show
like
notes.
fantastic. It really is like absolutely. And it's based on the Chinese myth. It's basically where Dragon Ball came from.
Oh, cool.
Dragon
Okay.
Ball Z, you know, like
Yeah.
yeah, the Monkey King and all that. It's based off of those, but it is so well done. There's like an hour of footage online that you can watch both in Chinese and in English. Like it's next level stuff. It's really cool.
Well, you got my interest peaked on that one. That's for sure. That is awesome. Okay, Asante, it has been absolutely a pleasure to have you today.
I
Thank you so
appreciate it. Thank
much.
you, sir. Thank
And
you. Thank you.
if you don't mind, as we wrap things up, to kind of let people know where they can reach out to you, where they can find you on your social media and your YouTube links and everything
Sure.
like that, and just how people can get to see you more.
Sure, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the invite. You know,
You're
it's
welcome.
always cool when folks invite you to come and it's weird talking about yourself. It's kind of odd, but I love talking games, so I could always do that. That's always great. Uh, TK0 Asante on Twitter because they didn't like me and they didn't like my original handle, so I had to switch that up.
Right.
So you can find me there if you follow me. I'll always follow you back. Always my DMs always open. Always down to have a conversation. Also, TKO Asante on Twitter, on Xbox, on PlayStation. I would give you my it's basically Gaming Circle podcast on YouTube, but
Hmm.
follow me on Twitter. And when I go live, I always make sure I let folks know I'm about to go live
I'll put a
and all
link
the folks that come
to
in.
your website to
Sure,
YouTube
sure.
in the show
I
notes. People can
I
check that,
appreciate
click on
that.
that. No
Yeah.
worries. Thank you.
Yeah. So yes, I appreciate you having me on, and maybe have you on my show sometime. You know, we'll have a conversation. Maybe you can come down to
Well,
the gaming circle, hang out a little bit. You know,
that
we'll
might be
talk about that
fun.
one.
Well, if you
Yeah.
don't mind me pop a beer in the corner, be all
Oh,
right.
do what you got to do, my friend. It's all good. Yes, indeed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, Sante, again, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. And as I get ready to play our outro, make sure I got on the right link. There we go. Yes, I need cheaters these days. And I'm like looking at the screen. Where's it at? Okay, there we go. Sir, thank you so much for being here. And thank everybody for checking us out today. You can check us out at outbreakpodcast.com as our website, which has our links to all our shows and to all the different avenues where you can find us. Of course, we're available on iTunes and Spotify, and this will be up on there as well as iHeartRadio. And and then, of course, on YouTube, which you're watching this now. So, isn't that weird? So, anyway, okay, Asante, thank you again for being here. And
Thank
thank
you.
everybody for joining us here at Outbreak Gamers.